Welcome to Mikey's Discount Driving. I'm Mikey. This is episode 3, and I'm fucking pumped up right now. Just got a haircut today for the first time in a very long time. I lost 12 pounds in the past couple weeks. And most importantly, this morning I took a big, fat, solid shit for the first time in a very long time. I've been sick the past couple weeks with stomach problems, constant diarrhea, stomach pains, but it's all done now. I feel great, no more stomach pains. I feel like $1,000,000 I'm lighter on my feet. I feel fucking great. Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm fucking pumped up right now, man. Shit. Yeah, man. I even started working out again. Knocked out a few reps earlier today. As you can see, look at that. Look at that definition right there. That little thing in the arm. Fucking that's Webster's dictionary right there in that tricep. That's what the fuck I'm talking about. Alright, so I've had a few minutes to compose myself and catch my breath. I was trying to get pumped up for the show, so like right before I banged out a couple push-ups, and it turns out that I'm still in really, really bad shape. So I do have a long way to go, another 15 pounds or so to lose. But you know what? Enough of that shit. Let's talk about today's show. I have actor R. Michael Gull as my next guest. It's not just any actor. He's the star of my favorite horror film of 2021 so far, Cactus Jack. He plays Cactus Jack. I'll put a link to the movie in the description. It is available on Vimeo right now. But if you want to hold off, it will be available on streaming very soon from what I hear. You know, Apple TV, iTunes, all that good stuff. So for anybody thinking of, turning this shit off right now, don't do it. Stick around for the R. Michael Gull interview. Enjoy the show.
You're alone, right?
Yeah. Is it cool if I start filming now?
No, what do we get inside?
Why are you here?
I just thought it was really interesting, that someone hasn't left their basement in 6 months, not even to use the bathroom. Is that true?
Why would I want to go out there? I got everything I need right here. That's what's wrong with most people. They're weak-willed pussies and parasites who buy into that whole "it takes a village" bullshit. You know how many aliases I've used calling into radio shows?
I've had it up to my goddamn gills with the systematic feminization of this country.
I don't get the porcelain one, Chad. Get your own damn show if you think you got that much to say.
You live in your mom's basement.
Get down! Fuck you! What's so special about my loser son?
You really do hate your own mother.
She's a woman. Why wouldn't I?
There's some disconnect there, and if I can find it, what is hate? Where does it come from? Where does it go?
You want to know what gender you are? Reach down the front of your fucking pants and shoot fucking kite. Black Lives Matter. Do you call horses slaves? Liberal fucktard. Enough with the parades and the rainbow flags.
Dude, this guy's... it's like pure hate, man.
Want to see something really fucking cool?
This guy is a fucking animal. He's got himself on a leash. He's itching to get off that fucking leash. And he's gonna fucking kill some people.
What a fucking show.
Stop!
What do we hear?
Look at me! Look at me!
We're gonna help you show them the light. We're gonna change the world.
This is Cactus Jack coming to you live from a studio audience.
To the man who calls himself Cactus Jack, we have watched as you have rocketed to infamy.
And you wonder why these cornered animals lash out. Get the fucking side.
And now, we have watched as you have called for literal blood.
I know you're out there listening. It's buzzing in your ears, burrowing into your brain.
Do it.
Jack, you're gonna love this.
I pulled that trigger on that motherfucker's head.
Your VPN will not shield you. The darknet will not hide you. You and your kind are finished.
You think I'm scared of you?
Come and fucking get me!
Might I be your neighbor? Neighbor?
How you doing, man?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. Doing all right. I fucking love Cactus Jack, by the way. So, but you played the role so convincingly that like I was a little, a little intimidated. But them Thorntons say you're a pretty cool guy. So
they really are. They really are. They made that into a really something pretty special.
Yeah. I think once this hits like straight, I think they said that it's coming on streaming like Apple TV and iTunes soon. So I think once more people see this movie, it's gonna build a little more appreciation for it. But I loved it, and well, of course, the movie's on your shoulders. You're carrying the whole thing, and I was fucking terrified.
Appreciate that,
it's
man.
A whole different kind of horror. It's nothing jumping out at you, nothing, you know.
Yeah, this fucker could live right next door to you. That's the horror part of it. That's the scary part.
Yeah, I probably lived next door to some of these people when I was living in the suburbs back in the day. So I'm gonna do like a quick intro for you. It's the one thing I do good on the show. So yeah. So all right, ladies and gentlemen, my next guest is an actor. He's not just any actor. He is the lead of my favorite horror film of 2021 so far, Cactus Jack. He plays Cactus Jack himself. Ladies and gentlemen, R. Michael Gull.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Great to be here, man.
So I was looking at your IMDb, and I was like, I think that Jason and Chris, the Thornton brothers who directed the movie, they told me that you were like a stand-up comic at one point. But I looked at your IMDb, and like I see you've been on tour with, or not, you've appeared on stage, on the same stages, on the same nights as like guys like Greg Giraldo and like some of my favorite fucking comedians ever.
Giraldo and I spent a weekend hanging out, and he introduced me around to a bunch of
how was
friends
that?
It was surreal because the reason we became friends, like we were friendly. I spoke to him probably a month before he passed.
Yeah.
We became friendly because I was the opener at a comedy club here in Milwaukee, which is now deceased, called the Comedy Cafe.
Okay.
And way back in the day when Greg started doing stand-up, Comedy Cafe was one of the first places that let him headline for a weekend.
Okay.
And so he always had a really special relationship with JD, the owner of the Comedy Cafe at the time. So he was in town, not playing at the Comedy Cafe, but he was doing a like a benefit thing for our children's hospital here.
Greg
a local radio station. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Which is an interesting choice.
Yeah.
And he walked from his hotel after the gig to the Comedy Cafe. And I was standing outside in the parking lot with the owner, just kind of smoking cigarettes, drinking a little whiskey. And all of a sudden, I hear this guy yell from across the parking lot, "Hey, you fat fuck," to the owner. Now, the owner is this big, overweight, scary, connected guy.
Yeah.
And he turns and he looks, and then Giraldo comes running up, and they hug and shit, and it's Greg fucking Giraldo. And he was fucked up. He was intoxicated.
Yeah.
Which was his thing. And he, the owner convinced him to go up after the headliner was done. The headliner was about 3/4 of the way through his act. It was the last show on a Saturday night. So the owner goes inside, and he's making the arrangements, and he's all excited, telling the staff that there's going to be Giraldo. And meanwhile, Giraldo and I are outside, and he's nervous about doing this. He doesn't know what material he's going to do.
Oh, really?
So he's trying shit out on me. He's like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And I'm just looking at this guy, and I'm like, "Do you fucking realize who you are as opposed to who I am.
Yeah.
But here was the weird part. He was so familiar with me because he thought we already knew each other. About 10 minutes into our conversation, he got pissed at me for never calling him. I had never met him before in my life. I still to this day
Christ.
never found out who he thought I was.
Yeah.
But he was like, dude, don't fucking lose my number again. It's bullshit. And I helped him find some blow that night.
Yeah.
And we drank a bunch of Corona, and we stayed in touch.
Oh, that's
It was
awesome.
so fun. I still don't know
When
who the
was
fuck he
this?
thought I
What
was.
around what year was this?
This would have been 07.
Okay.
06,
So this was
maybe.
kind of at the height of his powers a little bit because he was doing the roast.
Yeah.
That was right around where the roast started like getting pretty big.
Yeah. So after the headliner was done, I went up on stage and I was like, okay, guys, we got something really special for you. He's going to do a couple of minutes, and he stumbled up to the stage like he was leaning on shit. And the second his hand grabbed that microphone, man, he was laser. And he did like 45 minutes of perfection. And no one could tell that he was fucked up. Like he just had this, like he just boom, and he was fine. Wow. It was ridiculous. And then he stumbled back off stage, and we drank the rest of the night and shit. And he ended up leaving with an SUV full of like Mexican guys because they said they had blow.
Fucking love that dude, man.
Oh, he was awesome. He was fucking incredible. But yeah, I did stand
Well,
up.
I worked at comedy. I used to work at Dangerfields here in NYC. They closed down, unfortunately. They've been there like 50 years in this fucking pandemic. But
man.
I used to see quite a few comics go on stage just fucking shit faced. Or they come early for their spot. They have like a 10-minute, 15-minute spot, and they're just sitting at the bar the whole time, just throwing shit back. And
exactly.
I remember one guy, he was just high out of his mind. I think he was just smoked a lot of weed, some really potent shit. He goes on stage, and it was like that scene in The Joker when the Joker goes on stage and he just couldn't stop laughing, and like that was the whole 15 minutes. He'd get into a bit, and then he just like start break down laughing. He'd sit down and like trying to contain himself. It was so cringe to watch, but it was also super funny to watch. With comedy.
Did you ever try to do stand-up?
What kind of style like stand-up did you do? I'm a huge stand-up guy. I love stand-up.
I wanted to be Bill Hicks more than anything. And I started out I started out in 2001. This is my 20th year doing comedy. I still do it. I was doing it full time for a few years, and then life got in the way. And that's actually what got me into movies, is trying to move up on the food chain and have movie credits and shit. But I started out trying to be Bill Hicks, and I started out at this, there's a tourist bar in Milwaukee downtown called the Safe House, which is like a James Bond spy themed thing. And they had an open mic there every Thursday night. And I started working there as the door guy. And all the comics had come through, and I'd go and watch the comedy show every Thursday. And I started writing material in like March of 2001. And I wrote for almost a solid year before I ever went on stage, because I treated it like there's nothing more annoying than some fucking dumbass who's funny at the office trying to do an open mic, and all his stupid work friends are there. You're not funny, dude. Go home. Funny at work is different than funny on stage. And I had come from a music, I had been in the music business previously, so I approached it like being a musician. You don't just buy a guitar and go to a bar and play. You buy a guitar, you learn how to play it, you learn some songs, or you write some songs, and then you can play in front of people. So I wrote for almost a year, and I had like an hour before I ever went up and did my first 3-minute spot. And it appeared as though I was better than I actually was, because I had been practicing for a year into a tape recorder. And I made a deal with myself that the day, as I would drive to work to work the door on that open mic night, I made a deal that if I made myself laugh, then I would go up that night. So I would record into this little handheld and then listen to it. And if it made me laugh, then I was ready. And then one night I was ready. And yeah, I did that for a very long time. It's awesome.
So how'd you
Nothing
do
like doing
like your first time on stage? Did you kill it or?
No, because I was drunk. I went up last and got
Oh.
3 minutes, and I was nervous as hell. So I had like 6 Jack Daniels, and just went up there, and I'm baptizing people in the crowd with Jack Daniels, and just saying bullshit about Jesus, just bad Jesus jokes. Because I also wanted to be Sam Kinison, and a lot of his act was rooted in religion.
Yeah,
and because he had been a preacher, I had never been a fucking preacher, but I thought I was Sam Kinison, so it was terrible. It was awful.
Yeah, well, Bill Hicks is guys like Bill Hicks, George Carlin. Who was I forget his name. He passed away. He did the one-liners like Stephen Wright kind of.
Mitch Hedberg.
Yeah. A lot of I've seen a lot of comics try to do there was these bringer shows where people get like 3-4 people to buy a ticket to the show and they're allowed to go on stage. So I used to work a lot of those shows, and I've heard people just what was the guy's name again? I've heard people do like Bill Hicks, like straight up impersonation. I've heard people just straight up use their jokes, like they didn't understand that you have to write your own material. But
I mean, these days it's a lot more policed. Ever since Rogan called out Carlos Mencia in that really famous video, but like back in that, if you look at it again, though, like music, bands starting out sound like another band. Like if you grew up listening to Cheap Trick and you start a band, you sound like you're ripping off Cheap Trick.
Yeah.
And you probably do a couple of Cheap Trick tunes. Stand-up's kind of the same way. Like Chris Rock started out just doing Eddie Murphy's act word for word.
Yeah.
That's how you cut your teeth.
I think most comics start, not just most, I think all comics, like they kind of have someone they kind of base their thing off of until it takes them a while to refine their material and find their own voice. So with stand-up, I think one of my favorite stand-ups is Norm Macdonald. I think he's just the funniest guy in the world. But he said that he doesn't stick to the script. Like he'll write the jokes, but he doesn't like stick to it word for word because he says he's not a good enough actor to make it sound like it's the first time he's saying it. That's part of what makes it funny. And that's why, you're stand-up and you were fantastic in Cactus Jack, but you see a lot of stand-up comedians, they turn out to be really good actors.
There's something about the ability to let go.
Yeah.
That because it's considerably harder to make someone laugh than it is to make them cry.
Yeah.
Or make them afraid or anything else, which is, a lot of times good comics turn out to be spectacular dramatic actors. Like I would much rather see Jim Carrey in a dramatic role than bending over and talking with his ass and stuff. It's, or Robin Williams was an amazing.
Yeah, I like here's the thing. I was never a fan of Robin Williams stand-up. Like, I don't know. I don't like when comics are like trying too hard. You know what I mean? So Robin Williams kind of came across like he's all over the place, and a lot of people found it funny. I didn't really find it funny. As an actor, I thought he was awesome, especially like in serious. Insomnia is still a movie I go back to. Al Pacino, 1 Hour Photo.
Oh my God, he's so creepy in that.
Well, I like when funny people play psychopaths. Like go back to Cactus Jack. But even Adam Sandler, he started out as a stand-up, and seeing him in like Punch Drunk Love and the Uncut Gems, those are my favorite Adam Sandler.
Yeah, I love him in Funny People, where he plays a he plays basically Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
In it, but an asshole version. I love that movie.
Yeah, that was great. So, like you already said, Bill Hicks. Do you have like I know people like when people put together a list, they try to say Mount Rushmore, but they name like people who you would think of as generally as like great comics. And people say Mount Rushmore, they put like Carlin and Richard Pryor, but like who are your top 5? This is what I always like to ask comics. Yeah, your top 5, not Mount Rushmore, not people you think should be on Mount Rushmore, but people you listen to their act, they always make you laugh.
Lenny Bruce.
Oh yeah.
I have a CD that is like basically a documentary about him that includes a lot of his. It's called The Trials of Lenny Bruce, and it came with the book, The Trials of Lenny Bruce.
Yeah.
And it's it has a lot of his act in it. And when I would work the road, I would play this CD in the car as I'm driving from town to town in the middle of the night. So yeah, Lenny Bruce, Eddie Murphy, when he did stand up, was fucking breathtaking.
Oh yeah, when I was a kid, yeah, I remember. Which one did he have like the red suit? Was it Delirious or?
Yeah.
They were both.
And then the other one where he
really
had the red and black suit. Oh my God, he was so fucking cool. Bill Cosby for me.
Yeah.
Like, you're not supposed to say that anymore, but he was the contributions he made just from comedy.
Yeah.
Just from that. Forget the TV stuff and all of America's Dad bullshit.
Yeah.
Him as a comic, it was Red Fox.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Carlin for sure, and probably Louis C.K.
Yeah, I love Louis. Yeah, he's going through a thing now. I think he'll be back. I remember when I worked at Dangerfields, like when all that shit broke out, they had the front of the comedy club is picture Chris Rock, Louis C.K., and Jerry Seinfeld. And every day there was like some lady, I think it was the same lady actually. Well, you need to take down the Louis thing. And they did.
Oh.
They took it down. I was like, Jesus Christ, man.
That is so nutless of that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, my whole thing with what happened to him is, and he should have used this as a defense instead of apologizing and saying, I'm going to take a good long look at myself and I'm really sorry. And
yeah.
You know what? Sarah Silverman said it was okay for him to do that in front of her.
Yeah.
And every single one of these other women was less hot than Sarah Silverman. If Sarah Silverman says it's okay, fuck you.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Sarah Silverman, I got an ear to the New York scene, and she used to get around here in New York. I don't mean like to mean women or anything, but Kevin Brennan was a comic that I've seen. He used to be at Dangerfields like every weekend. I think he's hilarious, but apparently he was the first one to have sex with Sarah Silverman. She like dated comics. Like I worked at Dangerfields, and Comic Strip Live is like maybe 8 blocks away up the street, up the west side of Manhattan. So like comics would, comics jump around, especially in New York. There's like fucking 30 comedy clubs. So I got a 9:45 spot here. They jump in a cab, and they don't really make that much money. They'll get $50 for $75 for a 15-minute spot. Then they use that to get in a cab, hop to a different place. But it's amazing how many people actually knew that Sarah Silverman, like I knew personally, kind of, and Sarah Silverman dated.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a shame, man. I had a lot of good times at that comedy club, man. Talk about Greg Giraldo doing blow. Now that the club's closed, I can say this, but I used to, so many comics that I became friendly with was just like doing blow in the bathroom, and it was good times, man. It was the one job I had where they didn't give a fuck if you were drunk. Like I'd never worked a sober shift in the 4 years I worked there.
As it should be. Comedy should be loose.
They had like 3 o'clock shows. I was already getting started. It was great.
Nice.
But like, when's the last time you did a set?
About 6 months before the pandemic hit.
Okay.
So almost 2 years.
Oh shit.
About a year, almost a year and a half. And I have my first gig in all that time this Saturday.
Oh shit.
I'm doing it. And I decided I was going to write all new material.
Okay.
And what I don't like to do is I don't like to rehearse ever, not for anything. I don't like to rehearse for movies. I don't like to rehearse for stand-up. Yeah. I just like to write it, know it in my head, and then do it in front of people.
Yeah.
And so I don't go to open mics to practice or anything. I just, I practice when they're paying me, which is a fucked up work ethic to have, but I do it. And so I've got all this new material that I'm supposed to do on Saturday. And
how much time are you doing?
I'm doing 30. I'm opening for someone. I'm featured.
Ooh, 30 minutes.
Yeah. And like I can riff for 30 minutes. I can just, whatever, but I want it to, I'm trying to have it be structured. And what's going to end up happening is I'll do like 2 bits of the 20 that I've written, and I'll just expand on them. So 2 bits will become 30 minutes.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. So what do you kind of like circle around the joke and just come back to, is that kind of what you do, or?
Kind of, it's kind of like a crack in your windshield. If a rock hits your windshield,
yeah,
it's the time, and then it just kind of like spiders out from there. And then
gotcha.
I play off the crowd a lot. I fuck with people in the audience. So there's always that.
I know a lot of comics who do crowd work, and then the comic after fucking hates it sometimes.
Yeah,
they're doing crowd work because when, especially the crowd's getting drunker and drunk, especially on like a Friday or Saturday night. I love crowd work personally. I'm a fucking sucker for it. I think that's when the comic really shows their chops, the ability to riff. And I feel like anybody can write shit, and not everyone can perform, but if you practice enough, you can perform. But to really riff and just, it really shows how sharp you are. I love, some comics hate, some of them. I've seen, they're like, now the crowd's going to talk the whole time while I'm performing. I was like, just take it easy. If you have command of the audience, they'll shut the fuck up.
Exactly.
Have you ever had any hecklers, or? Imagine.
I have. I got banned for life from a club here in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Because I jumped off stage and attacked a guy who wouldn't stop heckling people.
Nice.
And I never got to him because 2 of my buddies held me back, which was a good thing because this guy was rather large and I'm not. And but I'm psychotic, so I'll just jump. I told him that if he didn't stop talking, I was going to beat his ass. And then he talked. So you then have to jump off the stage. I once did a show where I was working at a janitorial company as like a city manager. So my job was to go and check on like 25 different accounts that we had where they were cleaning buildings. So I'd drive around, pop in with my little clipboard and criticize people and leave. And I had a gig, and all the other managers came to see me. And this one was super drunk and super coked up. And I ended up bringing her on stage with me. And we were recording the show. We were like, it was a 3-camera setup and everything. I was trying to shoot a DVD. And I ended up just humiliating her and making her cry, and then releasing that clip on YouTube. And they threatened to fire me at work the next Monday because she came in tears and was all humiliated and shit. So I ended up having to take it down and all of that. I ended up leaving the job a year later anyway, so fuck them. But
oh Jesus, yeah, I've seen some. It's fun because I used to be a waiter at Dangerfields, and like whenever we didn't have bouncers or anything, so I'm only like 5'8", like maybe $160. Whenever there was like hecklers, they're like, all right, Mike, take care of it. I'm like, what? Sometimes, one time, this big drunk guy, he must have been like 6'5", had to be at least 250, and he's drunk. He's on stage. He actually goes on stage.
Oh God.
Like do something. I'm like, what the fuck? So I had to like kind of use my brains a little bit. I'm like, yo, the cops are on their way. Like lying to him, like, I don't want you to get caught. Let's get you out of here. Like I was on his side. But
smart.
Sometimes comics, they'll go like really hard on somebody, and then they won't be able to. The person isn't able to take it. One time it got really personal. I'm not going to name the comic, but they've been on like America's Got Talent and stuff. And it was like a Sunday night. There's like 10 people in the crowd, and like this big, strong dude's with his girl. And they're just trading barbs. And the comedian he was like, fuck comedy. He's like, your girl's a fucking whore. He's just nothing funny. Like, holy shit. And this guy gets on the stage, and there's this big scuffle, and it was just a fucking nightmare. I'm not getting in between that shit, man. Like 10 people in the crowd, I'm gonna walk away with $30 that night. I'm not getting my ass kicked over $30.
Yeah.
Like
I don't understand what it is about stand-up specifically that makes the audience members think that it's a two-way participation sport.
Yeah.
Like, you don't go to plays, you don't go to the fucking theater and yell shit at the actors.
I know.
You don't, at a concert, you're not yelling shit at the guitar player unless you're just like, yeah, but like you're trying to talk to me right now, and my literal job is to be the one talking. What the fuck? Have you never been outside the house before? What the fuck is wrong?
It is the nerve of somebody to have the arrogance that, oh, I'm funny too. There's always someone who thinks they're funny, and it's so annoying.
Go to an auto repair place and knock the wrench out of the guy's hand and tell him you're gonna change that fucking oil filter and shit.
Yeah.
See how long you're standing up. Just sit down and shut up.
Exactly. Have you ever performed with Rich Voss? Have you ever met Rich?
I have.
Yeah.
A Rich Voss story involving him threatening my life.
Oh, really?
I had never met Rich Voss. I never met Rich Voss in my life, except for one time on the phone. It was 2007 probably, or 8. And no, 7. And my cell phone rings and I answer it, and it's like a New Jersey number or something. And I'm like, okay. And this guy on the other end goes, hey, is this Michael Gull? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, this is fucking Rich Voss. I'm going to beat your fucking ass. And I'm like Rich Voss from Last Comic Standing? He's like, yeah, I'm going to beat your fucking ass. You don't take my name out of your fucking mouth. Giving away my fucking phone number? What the fuck is wrong with you? I will fly to fucking Milwaukee and kill you. And someone told him that I had been bashing him on stage and giving out his cell phone number, which I didn't have.
Yeah.
Until he called me. Now I could give it out.
Oh, no.
But prior to that, I had never even fucking dealt with the guy in any way. And it turned out I traced it back. This went on for a few months before I figured it out. This other comic that I had worked with previously, who I went through a phase when I was doing it full time, where I got kind of like dickish to like openers and stuff, which is not cool.
It happens though.
And this guy was supposed to do 10 minutes and he did 20. And he was awful. It wasn't like, they love me, I gotta stay on stage. Yeah. It was, they're enduring me and I'm not gonna stop. So I went off on him afterward, and he held on to that. And he was in like the Cleveland scene. Yeah. And he started spreading this around that I was fucking with Rich Voss. And it somehow got back to Voss. And how you picked him and how you picked that as a story, I'll never fucking know. But yeah, Voss wanted to beat my ass.
Wow. Yeah, Rich Voss, he seems like a little volatile. He wanted to be he's got that New York attitude kind of thing, but like, when I used to watch, what was it called with Colin Quinn, Angry Crowd or whatever it was.
Tough Crowd.
Yeah. He looked a lot taller. Then I met him and he's only like 5'7" or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Good. I was like, what the hell? Like, but I remember there was some lady laughing like really loud in the crowd, and he was about to go up, and this is the first time he did Dangerfields in like 20 years. And he shits on the club. He's like, yeah, this place fucking sucks. Dangerfields is kind of a, some people talk about it. Like Joe Rogan used to mention it once in a while. Like, oh, you go in, there's only 10 people, but we would get crowded like over the weekend. And you can fit like 200 people. I don't know if you've seen like old Andrew Dice Clay, like, or old.
Yeah, that's where he started. And
Guinness, there's like, they could pack like 300 people in that fucking room. It was, and they made it look bigger when they had the cameras on. But I remember Rich Voss is waiting for, and he keeps looking at this lady, and I'm standing next to him. He's like, shut that fucking cunt up, or I'm not going on stage. I'm like, so I went over to her and I gently said, I'm like, can you guys keep it down? Some comics are complaining about it. And she did. And I came back, and he was very great. He's like, thank you, man. Fuck that cunt. And like, but he seemed a little aggressive. It's like a New York kind of aggressiveness that, he didn't seem like the kind of person I wanted to talk to. There's some comics who are a little, like Kevin Brennan was actually pretty cool, but I heard Leslie Jones be like, fuck Kevin Brennan, he's a psychopath. Like I've heard things about, but surprisingly, the nicest stand-up I've ever met, like who was Bill Burr. He was like the nicest fucking guy in the way. He just showed up one night, popped in on a Sunday, and he just tore this crowd was all fucking Generation Z, all white 20-year-old girls. And he's like, he saw the crowd, and I saw him like salute. I'm like, oh fuck. And he goes on, he's like, let's get right into it. Abortion. and he's getting an abortion. All these girls who don't know who he is. Like, I remember when he came in, I wrote a note on stage for the MC, and I gave him the note. He's like, "For real?" I'm like, "Yeah, Bill Burr." And he says, "Bill Burr, like, people shouldn't know nobody knew who he was in the crowd. It was just all a bunch of 20-year-old white chicks who,
Wow.
who were very woke, feminist, and it didn't go very well." I thought it was hilarious. I was, and me and my the other way were just in the back laughing our asses off. It was great, but like we had that one girl walk out, and I think Bill
That
mentioned
is
it
the
in his
best
podcast.
thing. That is the best feeling as a comic, for me anyway, is to walk a table, is to have people walk the fuck out. I used to do this bit right after Christopher Reeve died. This is the guy who played Superman.
Yeah, I know.
About how he all of a sudden was a hero, and name any of his he starred in like 27 movies or something like that.
Yeah.
And no one in a crowd could name anything he was in besides the fucking Superman movies.
Yeah.
And everyone then, when he got into his accident and all of that, and he got sicker and sicker, he was a hero. And basically the bit was about how you're a hypocrite for making a hero out of a guy who literally can't even get back on the horse after he falls off. And he's an appliance, he's not a hero, and blah, 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 all this stuff. And I walked it was like 20 some people. It was a big ass long table. And then another table next to it. And they just walked out, and it was the best fucking night of my life. Loved it.
Wow. Yeah, Bill Burr, he seemed like pretty frustrated. I remember he came out as soon as he ended his set and walked out of the room. He had his hands on his head. And like, I don't know how you think you did. I thought it was fucking great. Like, we had the comics there, of course. The Bill Burr's here, so all the comics are sitting in the back watching. Yeah. We were laughing our asses off. We made the room sound like it was, but apparently he thought he bombed. But
and that's why he's so good. Because he's not
satisfied. Have you ever had any sets where you like seriously bomb? Not just like walking people out, because you kind of want that. Sometimes you want something like that to happen. You want like a strong reaction, but just silence, just crickets.
I considered myself at the beginning, and for the first several years, I considered myself real edgy. And I'm glad Bill Burr wasn't famous when I started.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of the same style. Just angry and annoyed with everything, and you're an idiot and all of this stuff. And I was booked to play the 80th anniversary of the Lawrence, Michigan Fire Department. And there's like maybe 500 people in the town of Lawrence, Michigan. And most of them were there. And the median age of the people there was like 70. It was all a bunch of fucking old people. And I brought a guy with me to open. We split the money equally because he was a better comic than I was. I was just afraid to do it alone. So I split the money and brought another guy with me. And I went out there and I did my usual venomous bullshit, talking about my ex-wife stuff. And they just looked at me. They just sat there, just looking at me. And then the guy I brought, when we got there, I decided that I wasn't going to be the second comic. I was just terrified. So I went up first.
Yeah.
And then the guy I brought with me, who was seasoned and could read a room and had done improv for years, just slayed, just did he read the room and he did exactly what he was supposed to do. And they had a fantastic time and they forgot how bad I was, which was perfect. But like, I don't read rooms very well. Like, I just do what I do.
Yeah.
So sometimes people get upset. Sometimes I've had people cry during a show. I've had people come up to me afterward and tell me not to use the R word anymore and stuff like that. And yeah, it's I don't read it. I just do it. And if you like it, you stay. And if you don't, you don't.
Yeah. But you do crowd work though. If someone's saying, then that's good.
Oh yeah, you don't get to heckle.
Yeah.
But like now, well, first of all, since Cactus Jack, I've gained almost 70 pounds.
17.
17. With a 0 at the end. 70.
70. Jesus.
Yeah, almost
Christ,
70
bro.
pounds. I weighed 125 when we did Cactus Jack.
Holy shit, man. So okay,
yeah.
so you're at a north, because I was about to say you don't look you don't look heavy set. So you're at
Now
your
I weigh
normal weight.
190. I weigh 190 and it's all in my gut. And yeah. So now I don't like run around back and forth on stage like that, being an angry, like caged animal like I used to.
Yeah.
Now I'm just cranky and tired and just annoyed more than anything. It's a much softer thing now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
In an extra large t-shirt now.
What's that?
Now it's wearing an extra large t-shirt instead of an extra small like I used to.
Bro, tell me about it. I think I put on like 35 during the pandemic. Especially during the wintertime. And I was already like 15 pounds overweight. So I'm back on like losing all the weight again, getting ready for the summer. And now that New York's kind of opening up slowly, I don't like walking or running just for the sake of walking around. I do it if I have somewhere to go. So luckily there's been some things open and I've been able to, kind of walk around and drop some pounds a little bit, eat a little less.
Nice.
So like so you got into comedy before acting, or?
I did. Okay. I
So
got into
when
acting.
Did you start? When did you start getting into acting?
I don't know that I've ever told this story, so I might get in trouble. But so I had been doing stand-up and I was doing it full time now. I quit a very good paying job as a criminal defense investigator.
Oh shit.
To do stand-up full time. I was doing like a lot of public defender cases and shit like that, and private defense cases.
Those things can pay well.
Yeah. And you're billing people out. You're billing people hourly and shit. You bill them 15 minutes just for making a phone call for them. It's beautiful. And I started getting more stand-up gigs. Like other comics were starting to take me on the road and stuff for road gigs. So my boss was really supportive right up until he couldn't be anymore. So he made me make a choice. And I made a choice and went full-time doing stand-up and instantly started making a third of the money I was making before.
Yeah.
I was married at the time.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I ended up losing a marriage over it. Yeah. And so I had been doing it for a few years full-time, and you get to a point, it's the weirdest thing. Like people want to be in the room with someone that they perceive to be famous, no matter what it is that they're perceived to be famous for. Like Screech, Dustin Diamond was filling places up as a stand-up.
Yeah.
And he was awful. I did a show with him as well.
Well, there's a lot of
terrible
people doing jumping into Jeremy Piven, I know, is doing stand-up.
Yeah. But whether they're good or not doesn't really matter. It's having credits. So
yeah,
I, being a movie lover and being a lover of obscure bad movies from the 80s, decided I was going to start lying on my resume and say I was in a movie. This is before IMDb. This is before you could check.
Yeah.
MySpace was a thing at this point. And I lied about being in this movie called Tough Turf, which came out in 1985, which was the first first major role for Robert Downey Jr. It starred James Spader, Robert Downey Jr., Kim Richards, who now is a real housewife. She was a real housewife of whatever. She's the drunk one. And an actress named Olivia Barish, who was the crazy girlfriend in Repo Man, the UFO chick in Repo Man.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite. I don't know why, but it's my go-to favorite movie. It's so terrible, but I know every line of it. So I lied and said that I was in Tough Turf in a minor role. And to back up my lie and to test how good I was at lying, I found Olivia Barish on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I sent her a long message. Not one word of it was true. That I had played a very small role in this movie, and you were the only principal cast member who treated me kindly on set, and I've never forgotten it. And I'm so glad I found you, and I just wanted to say thank you. And now I do stand up, and I blah, blah, blah. And I swear to God, she sent me a message back like 2 days later. Dear Michael, of course I remember you. I make a point to remember everyone I work with, no matter how small their role. And we became friends.
Get the fuck.
I wrote and produced a short film where I play a serial killer. It's just a 16-minute long short film called Victim, which you can find on YouTube. Okay. And she wrote and performed. She's also a musician. She wrote and performed a theme song for it to open the film.
No way.
She also got Jimmy Steinfeld, who had been a Rolling Stone photographer and was a friend of hers, very famous rock and roll photographer, to take pictures of her looking like a murder victim that were used as stills in the movie. And then I wrote and was producing my first feature film, and she was really supportive and helping me out on that. She was like an associate producer. She doesn't know to this day that I wasn't in fucking Tough Turd.
Oh, hopefully she doesn't watch this shit. Nah.
Yeah, when I was putting together my feature in 2008, I went to LA for a week, and she was my tour guide. She showed up at my hotel room every morning and would drive me around to meetings. She was in recovery. She had been a heroin addict.
Oh, okay.
And she took me to all these NA and AA meetings.
Really?
And I had meetings with like Eddie Griffin and met
Andy Dick.
All these people. No, Andy Dick. No. I
must have been in between.
Todd Glass.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was at one. John Goodman. I watched John Goodman cry at an AA meeting.
Wow.
Yeah, it was surreal. And we had lunch with Charlie Sheen. She set up a lunch with Charlie Sheen, and he would not make eye contact with me and would not speak directly to me. And it was about my movie that we were meeting. And he would ask her, he'd say, so when is he going to be shooting it? And she'd turn to me and go, so when are you going to be shooting it? And I'd say, this through this. And then she'd tell, it was so fucking ridiculous. He was just this was before his big meltdown.
Before his Tiger Blood winning thing happened.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But yeah, Olivia really helped me out and was really sincere and just wonderful. And it was all based on a lie that I told her.
That's so fucked up. But it's cool. Yeah.
But then I started doing real ones. Then I started doing some shorts.
Yeah.
And I did a movie with Mark Metcalf, the guy who was the maestro from Seinfeld and the guy from Buffy the Vampire Slayer and stuff. And it just kept going. I did a couple TV things. I did Patrick Swayze right before he died, did a horrible TV series called
I remember that. Yeah, he looked awfully thin in the
It was bad. And if you listen to any of their podcasts, before Hard Out, it was Holy Clowns, and Jay and I were doing this podcast called Holy Clowns together, and I told this story on there, but I contributed to the death of Patrick Swayze.
Whoa. In what way?
I escalated. I expedited his death. Let's say. So we were shooting this show, and it was outside of Chicago at the Chicago Gary, Indiana airport, right at the border there.
Okay.
And I am a heavy smoker. I've been a heavy cigarette smoker for years.
Yeah, me too, bro.
And I kept, whenever there'd be a break, we're shooting in this airplane hangar, and I would sneak out and go behind the building and suck on a Camel as quick as I could, try to get 2 down,
Yeah.
And every time I did, I noticed that Patrick Swayze noticed that I was disappearing. And one of the times I went out, it was maybe the 4th or 5th time that day, he wore these big ass cowboy boots, really high heel cowboy boots, because he also lied about his height. If you IMDb him, it says he's 5'10". He was 5'7" if he was in
Patrick Swayze?
He was a tiny little fucker.
Oh, Jesus.
Half of Roadhouse is talking about how little he is. If you pay attention, watch Roadhouse, every other scene talks about how tiny this fucker is. They're all making fun of him for being tiny.
I never
he was not 5'10". He was wearing cowboy boots, and I'm 5'8.5". And I was wearing regular dress shoes because I played an FBI agent. He was wearing cowboy boots, which were probably 1.5 inches taller than my shoes. And I saw over his head.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he was little. And one of the times I went around back, I heard these cowboy boots clicking along the sidewalk coming around the building. And I'm like, oh shit. And then he looks around the building and he sees me smoking and he goes, oh, thank fucking God. Give me one. Give me one. So we became like smoking buddies for the rest of that shoot.
Oh no.
And I was giving him cigarettes. And I remember he didn't give me life advice or career advice. We didn't become friends. He just would wait for me to go have a cigarette and then he'd have to go and piss or something. And he'd sneak because his wife was there watching over him. They had moved to Chicago to do this, and his doctors had moved. He was like, and his wife was not allowing any fucking smoking. And we were standing there against the building on like our third cigarette together. And I was just like, should you be smoking?
And it was made out that he had pancreatic cancer at the
he was already dying from it. The reason there wasn't a second season to that show is because he died during the hiatus.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And he said, well, pancreatic cancer hasn't got me yet. I might as well give lung cancer a shot. Was his answer to should you be smoking?
That's fucking gangster, man. You know what?
Oh, he was a
respect for
badass.
Patrick Swayze.
Fuck yeah.
God damn, man.
Yeah. So Jay likes to say how I killed Patrick Swayze.
I remember I dated a girl one time and like her aunt just got over cancer, and you know, my girlfriend, we lived together at the time, and she wouldn't let me smoke in the house, so I snuck outside. All of a sudden I see her aunt come out and like, yeah, let me get one of those. I'm like, I was like, I don't know, man. Your niece is upstairs. Like, it's fine. And I'm like, I don't know, man. And she was like old. She was like 75. I'm like,
wow.
I don't know, man. Like, but you know, my dad, who doesn't have cancer, I remember he quit smoking cigarettes. He's good. He doesn't have cancer, but he quit for like 10 years or something. And then we're driving the car. He's like, oh, you can smoke a cigarette in the car. So I'm smoking a cigarette. He's like, yeah, let me get one of them. I'm like, I'm like, it's been 10 years, man. I don't want to like be the reason why you go back. So this motherfucker, I live in New York. Cigarettes are $15 a pack.
Jesus.
So my dad, this motherfucker, he takes 2 puffs. He's like, I don't like it anymore. He just throws the whole cigarette out the fucking window. I'm like, whoa. I was like, fucking put that shit out and give it back to me, man. That's like,
wow.
It's like $1 a cigarette, man.
Yeah.
But
that's insane. Yeah. Jesus.
So Cactus Jack. Now, how did this come about? But this was like 2016 when you guys started.
It all started in 2015 for
okay.
me. That's when it was introduced to me. I don't know how long they were kicking the idea around. As a matter of fact, 2 days ago, in my Facebook memories from 2015 was the first day we did a photo shoot.
Yes, I saw that actually. I saw that.
Hitler's birthday.
Oh, yeah, 420.
420. Yeah. Hitler's birthday is when Cactus Jack was born.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And we did this really creepy black and white photo shoot where I'm like covering my face and shit. And,
yeah.
And then that year we just talked about it more and more. And then in February of 2016, over a Valentine's Day weekend, we shot a proof of concept trailer for it. And then they started just kind of putting it together and getting people involved, and they did a GoFundMe. There was a period of time during the development of it where they created a Twitter account in Cactus Jack's name and didn't tell people it was for a fucking movie.
Oh shit. So it was just
they
like
were spouting. So Jay would like tweet things like what Cactus Jack would say.
Wow.
And they got like 4,000 followers.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And it freaked us. And they also did a Facebook page the same way. And it started to freak us out. So then he kind of came out of the closet with it and was like, guys, this is for a movie. Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And itself is fucking terrifying.
Yeah. We started shooting, I want to say December of 2016 is when we started.
How long did you guys shoot for?
we shot through 2017, and then it was and into 2018, and then it was done. We thought, but Jay and Chris like to let things kind of percolate and cook.
Yeah.
And it became obvious. Then they put together a festival cut, sent it out to Slam Dance and Sundance and a couple other ones, and got resounding no's. There was no musical score to it. It was very dry.
Yeah.
It had no rhyme or reason. And in the original one, I kill the documentary filmmaker when I kill the mother.
Yeah.
And
so you guys had to reshoot that old.
So in the meantime, we reshot in like 2019 and or late 2018, and I had already gained 45 pounds and had my teeth fixed.
Oh yeah.
So we were trying. There are parts of Cactus Jack that involve anytime, like if you see me with the documentary filmmaker later in the movie after it becomes color.
Yeah.
That's all when I'm fat with teeth. And
did they do lighting tricks, kind of like they did with Marlon Brando and Apocalypse Now?
We tried to do. They tried lighting tricks. They had me wear a long black leather trench to cover my big gut. But like in the scenes where, like when I'm trying to make him eat the beans, I'm 45 pounds heavier with brand new teeth. And
I gotta watch it again to see. I didn't even notice that shit.
When I go into the room and I'm whipping him, and you can see it on the surveillance camera. When I turn, you can see this big ass stomach sticking.
Now I definitely have to.
It was awful. Yeah. So we had to then add a bunch of stuff, and it became much better because Sam, the guy who plays Chris, is fucking amazing.
Yeah, he was good. How did you know Chris and Jason before this? Is that how you got the role, or did they see some of your work before?
They had seen me. We had common friends. There was a couple of guys that they knew who had been PAs on my feature that I made.
Oh, okay.
And they came to the set a couple times, I think, and just kind of, I think they saw my stand up, and they came to me and they're like, "Hey, we wrote this part and we think you're the guy." And that's flattering to a certain extent.
But when you heard about the character,
but why did you think I could be this guy?
Yeah. So there was no audition or anything like that. It was just like, you're the fucking guy.
Yeah, we started by doing the episodes of his show when it's in color.
Yeah.
Those rants. We started doing rants. Like he would write me a rant and we would just audio record it. And then he made a couple of YouTube videos where it was my voice and like imagery that he'd put up. We did one about Baltimore after the uprising happened there.
Yeah.
We did a few of those. We did a really horrific one about Muslims and gays and women and everybody that Cactus Jack hates.
Yeah.
And I'd go over there, he'd get me high, and I'd read over it a couple times, and then we would just shoot it.
That's gangster shit, man. That's guerrilla filmmaking right there, man.
It was unlike any other shoot I've ever done. I've done, I want to say 14 or 15 films and a couple of TV things, and this was unlike anything ever. It was just me and Jay in the basement on a phone.
Oh yeah, I forgot that they were shooting with the fucking iPhones.
He had all these lens attachments and stuff. But yeah, I mean, and the thing that I think makes it good, makes it quality, is the sound. He was really careful to make sure that we did good sound. We didn't just record the sound through the phone, obviously. He was using a Zoom or whatever, and had with low budget, with really low budget indie films, it always takes me out of the story when the sound is shit.
Oh yeah. Well, I produced a short film where the sound was just fucking terrible, and it kind of ruined the whole thing.
It does.
Yeah, it does. But I thought it was, and like Jason and Chris, they're like, you should direct something. I was like, I don't really know how to do anything. They're like, we don't know how to do anything either.
Yeah, he figured it out while we were
as long
doing
as you
it.
have a vision. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, they just figured it out as we went along. It was so loose and so fun.
Well, the aesthetic of it reminded me of, especially the editing. I thought the editing was fucking aces. The sound editing with the editing, it was amazing. It reminded me a little bit of Natural Born Killers, a little bit with black and white,
Yeah.
The color, and then the quick cuts and these, wide angle shot, up close shots, and I was like, man, this is fucking trippy, man. Like, it literally felt like I was stuck in a nightmare, and
that's the whole point.
I think that was the whole point of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a bunch of really good reviews. I don't know if you've read any of the reviews, but there's a ton of really good ones.
Yeah,
and
I did,
like Film Threat gave us this amazing review and shit, and when people get it, like some of the bad reviews we've gotten, some of the negative reviews talk about how they felt like they were trapped in it with them or assaulted or something. That's exactly the fucking point of the movie. How are you going to give it a bad review when you're telling us that it did exactly what it was designed to do? You just don't prefer that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're supposed to feel like you're in that basement with me.
And I think
it's like you can't get away.
I think it's like people should understand that going in. You see that in the trailer. Like it's like what you see in the trailer, that's you kind of know what to expect. So I went in knowing what to expect. Of course, they don't use all the harsh language. They do, like in the trailer, they don't use all the harsh language. They don't show everything, but like, I'm like, if you don't understand the tone, what you're getting into, like it's what I expected, and I got it. That's why it's my favorite horror film of 2021 so far.
Awesome.
I understand it's not going to be for everybody, because people just want to, people go to see movies for different reasons, for me, if I feel anything outside of boredom, I think a movie has done its job. If I get to, and this, I kind of felt like I needed to take a shower afterwards after I saw Cactus Jack for the first time. But that's exactly what the fucking, I was like, yes, exactly. Yeah. And, I knew Chris and Jason, you can tell. It's funny because a lot of the bad reviews are coming from, which I didn't expect. We're coming from the right. We're like, oh, they're just trying to, I was like, really? I expected. Now, there has been negative things from the left too. It's a very polarizing movie, but I think it's going to be appreciated over time, I think, and once it gets seen by more people. And it did get a lot of good reviews. I read the reviews. I left my own little review on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, it's not going to be for everybody, but if you get the point, you're going to appreciate it. And if anything, even if you don't appreciate it, one thing I tell everybody, I'm like, this guy who plays Cactus fucking Jack is fucking top notch. It's the most terrifying horror movie villain maybe ever. And you're not like molesting little kids or whatever they allude to with
right.
Nightmare on Elm Street or anything like that. You're not, there's not like a 50 body count thing. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but the body count isn't really, you compare him to other horror movie villains, it's not that high, but you in this movie as Cactus Jack, the most despicable, awful, terrifying horror movie villain. Like, so you did your job. You did your job very well there.
Thank you. It's fun playing a bad guys are always better. It's always just more fun. It's like,
oh yeah, it is.
And there was no limit to this guy. Like
fucking, they do it, let loose, man.
Like he's just trash, just absolutely useless human being. But he's smart and he can articulate it.
It's very. I started falling under a spell a little bit. I'm like, wait a minute. I just voted for Biden. What the fuck's happening?
Right.
But But yeah, the thing is, you are so articulate, and so the way you speak is like it does draw you in. Like it, I couldn't help but feel like your experience as a stand-up comic, kind of, because you're commanding an audience essentially when you're doing comedy in front of people. You're like, if you think of it like, basically, you're just people are just sitting around a stage and hearing you, listening to you talk. That's pretty much what you're doing. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely the same muscle. Yeah, it's definitely the same muscle. And they were really good when we were shooting it because I don't know if you noticed this, but a lot of the rants where a lot of the rants are just like one take, like how you would do stand up. So you can get a momentum going. Whereas a lot of times in filmmaking, they'll shoot 20 seconds and then cut.
And then shoot it from a different angle.
And not having another actor to work off of for those kind of things made it very much like doing stand-up. It's the exact same muscle you're using. So it was kind of familiar territory, but it was just like, instead of getting laughs, I'm going to try to make people cry.
That's pretty. Are you like trained? Are you like a trained actor or an actor, as pretentious people would like to say?
Not really. No.
Yeah. And that's some of the best actors I've seen aren't really, I have comedian friends, and I was impressed by his performance in a short film he did. I was like, what acting school? He's like, no, I don't. Just stand up. You kind of have to act.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though you're kind of playing yourself, you have to act like you're saying the shit for the first time.
Right. I mean, I appreciate like the things that you're saying about my performance in it, and I appreciate.
Oh, no problem.
I get a kick out of reading the reviews and all that, and that's nice.
I fucking love it.
But I also think a lot of times, how is someone not a good actor? Like, why is it impressive to be a good actor? Like, literally, if you've ever had a conversation with a person, just pretend you're having a conversation with a person.
Yeah.
Like I'm impressed with someone who can unclog a drain or fix a car. Or
if I had a nickel for every time I've had a conversation with somebody that kind of have to pretend that I care about the conversation, kind of thing. Like, you ever go to a bar and some drunk guys talking about some shit you don't care about? You're like, yeah. To me, life is acting. You're pretty much acting.
Right.
Some actors, I know a couple of actors who I'm not gonna say their names, but they're like, I'm not good at improv. I'm like, what the fuck do you think life is? And you're improvising when you're having a conversation with somebody. You're improvising the whole fucking thing. You're not first and then you talk to somebody.
Exactly. And then you just, you don't have to like method actors and shit like that, taking it all serious. So you're playing make believe, dude.
Yeah.
Just fucking act creepy when they say action, and then when they say cut, stop acting creepy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like
That's all you have to do.
You leave set and you're burning crosses on people's lawns because you're there.
Exactly. Like some of it stuck with me, but not like as an actor, it was hard. It wasn't like that. It just like I'd leave and I'd be like, God damn, people actually fucking feel this way.
Yeah.
This is gross. But like doing it, like Alice Cooper has been doing that for 50 years.
Yeah.
It's time to go on stage, act like a villain. Time to stop acting like a villain.
I remember but in Wayne's World when they show him and he's talking about Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Milwaukee, it's the Native American. I was like, holy shit, he sounds super smart. Like before that, I just knew him from, looking like a Satanist on a stage and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, I met Mr. Miyagi, Pat Morita. And I was a little kid, and Karate Kid was like my shit. I met him. This is before I saw any reruns of Happy Days. I met him, and he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" Like a white guy. I was like, "What the fuck? What the fuck?" They kind of ruined everything for me. I was like, "What?" I was like, "You're not, huh?" It was But thank God you're not like the person in Cactus Jack, man.
Yeah. I don't think the Thorntons would have wanted to associate with me at all.
Yeah. But it's a fantastic movie. It's been awesome talking to you, bro. I'm so glad that you're as cool as Jason and Chris said you are, man. Super easy to talk to. Yeah, man. Do you have anything to plug right now? I know you got for the people in Milwaukee. Where are you performing at this weekend?
I'm performing at the End Zone. It's a steak dinner and a comedy show night for $30.
Holy shit!
On
State
Saturday. Yeah, and they
Nice.
have decent food there too. Saturday the 24th, 7:30.
All right. Have you ever gone on tour before, or like?
I have.
Other cities?
I have.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
I did when I was doing it full time. That was my only job, and I would go. You know, I'd drive to Arkansas, I'd drive to New Mexico, I'd drive to Texas, just kind of all over the place. Yeah, that's why the marriage fell apart, as I'd be gone for 2 weeks at a stretch.
Oh well, sorry to hear
Come
that.
home for a couple days.
Well, if you're ever out in New York,
it worked out.
If you're ever out in New York, fucking doing some gigs, bro, like, yeah, hit me up, man. Like, I actually might go to a comedy show tonight. It's 25% or 20. They're at like 25% capacity right now at comedy clubs. Comic Strip Live is where Seinfeld and Eddie Murphy. I heard a rumor they were putting it out for rent. Then all of a sudden, my friends posted pictures of him on stage at the Comic Strip. I'm like, oh, okay, thank God they didn't close. So I might check out a comedy show tonight.
I have a friend out there. I have a friend who lives out there in Brooklyn who puts together. He's a comic and he puts together comedy shows out there. His name is Damon Millard. I don't know if you know him or not.
It's the comedy scene out here. You kind of like know people through other people, and just by going to shows, I remember they have Black Fat Pussycats up here in New York. That's that's right next to what do you call it? The big Comedy Cellar. It's like part of the Comedy Cellar. So you go in there and you see all these comics you see at all these other comedy clubs that you've seen like while I was working at Dangerfields. I'm like, oh hey, how you doing? They're hanging out with like fucking, trying to think of some names here. Who was the guy who made fun of Kobe Bryant's death? Amazing Racist.
I don't remember. Everybody, every
big
comic?
skinny Jewish guy. Tall,
Ari Shaffir?
Yeah, Ari Shaffir. Yeah, I remember seeing him and people from like America's Got Talent. I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. But yeah, man, it's easy to run into people at comedy clubs, and oh shit, they're going on stage. So it's pretty cool. If you're ever out here, if I'm ever in Milwaukee, I'm definitely hitting you and Jason up, man.
Definitely do it. Yeah.
Definitely, bro. Thank you so much for doing this turd of a podcast. You gave it a little credibility, and they're fucking awesome stories about comedy, man. I can talk about comedy for hours, man. It's like one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
I'll never go.
Thanks for having me.
I'm just like into it, man.
Yeah, it's like nothing else. Thanks for having me. Appreciate
no problem,
it. This was
bro.
fun.
No problem. Awesome, man. Take care, bro.
You too.
Thanks, man.